Hello, everybody. We're going live for Tuesday Talks, and today we have a wonderful, amazing soul called Erica Ballard, and she is an life coach and also a mindset coach. You know, she's helping ambitious women become who they're really meant to be. Really looking forward to speaking with Erica. Hey, how we doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So I've done a short introduction for you already, Erica, and obviously I always say you're the best person to introduce yourself, and obviously add some more bits that you would love to. And the first thing I like to ask with that introduction is also, what are you doing and why are you doing it? So if you could start with that, thank you very much.
Sure. So I'll give you the quick backstory. And it goes something like this. For most of my life, I didn't like the way I looked and felt. And it was super, super confusing for me because I was doing all of the right things. I was drinking shakes, eating bars, right? I worked in public health. I knew these things. And I just would wake up most mornings hating what I saw in the mirror and hating how I felt. And so I went down a journey to figure out why that is the case. Because for me at that time, I thought health would, I wanted to look a certain way, but I also thought health would bring me happiness. I had a very, very focused view of what health looked like. And so I would, wake up early and go to work out. I would skip sleep for that. I would play a really screwed up game of like not eating for long periods of time. And as anyone, at least I know here in America, who's ever tried to drop weight, we always blame the methodology instead of ourselves. And so I just kept doing it and doing it until I finally moved. I was on the East Coast, so I was in Boston. I was getting my master's at Tufts Medical. I moved back to Indianapolis, which was my hometown, and I joined this thing called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And when I got there, my mind was blown because, going to grad school, working in public health, doing all of that, I understood sidewalks mattered for health, and race and ethnicity, like I'm Filipino, right? That mattered for the manifestation of disease. But what I didn't know was stress, sleep, food. These were the drivers of like a full, healthy, vibrant life. And when I figured that out, things changed for me really fast. Like my pants fit differently. I was zen for me. I could handle things being thrown my way. But as I started to do that work, I realized there was more to it. It wasn't just you're not just dealing with your physical body. There's this whole mindset around how do you manage sleep? How do you take care of this? What does it look like? What does self-care look like? Which took me to dive even deeper into what are cultural norms around women and how do we feel about how we show up and limiting beliefs and mindset and all that. And so I've been on that quest after, what I thought was like getting the perfect body for me would make me really happy. And it was like, oh no, kid, there's so much more. And diving into that and really learning how to decondition and unlearn to rebuild has been the process that's gotten me here. And so now that's what I help women do, because we all are looking at the external to fix the internal, but it really starts here. And when we start to understand that, I think we can go further and faster in this world. And that's my goal for people, is to get them to where they want to be in a quicker manner.
Wow, that's actually that's an amazing journey and very interesting as well. And I love to touch upon the what you mentioned. The journey actually starts within, and I think it's peer pressure and also society that conditions us as well to look outside. Everything we do in life, we look outside anyway for approvals, for validation. Anything that you want to start on, you're always looking outside, right? So in that way, by default, you are like, okay, what are other people saying? Oh, do I now come across this way? Oh, I need to come across that way, and shall I do something different? So even though you are doing things for yourself, you are still looking at that validation outside, right? You're still looking at the mirror for that example, right? So even if you're looking at the mirror for that validation, you are looking at outside. Okay, because you're looking at the mirror, is you're looking at it, so how does the world see me? Because that's what you want to see in the reflection of that mirror, right? And then you're projecting it, right? This is how the world sees me. And again, this is something in my experience, and it's something what is still within you, what you are projecting out to the world. And the world is only seeing what you're projecting, right? And your what you want to see. And that's what it is. The world is not seeing anything else than what you are seeing yourself as. And that's what they are seeing is. So if you're not happy with, what you are seeing yourself, and you're saying, oh yeah, I want to be happy. I have quite a few friends who will start hardcore gym with health wise, because now the summer's coming. So they want to have that, beach body ready, they want to have, so they can walk around with no shirts on, and the girls will walk around in bikinis and all this stuff. So I always see them, and they're like, you start seeing them in the wintertime hitting the gym hard. So by the time the summer comes and there are no more layers on them, right? And they're like, well, okay, so this is what you just did for 2 months of summer. In UK, you only get 2 months of summer. So for the 2 months, you were in the gym for 6 months, right? And again, it's just a projection, what you wanted to project, right? What you want to see yourself in the mirror. And it's wonderful that you've just touched on it. So expanding on that, how was that journey for you? Obviously, it sounds like a very long journey. So you've been on it for a long time, I guess.
Been on it for a while, and I think we've been on it our whole lives, if we're being really honest with one another. But I think I became aware of it, right? Maybe 7, 8 years ago, and it's funny because with my clients, I'm like, it's not that it's not a fun journey, but it's a journey that you have to decide to undergo, because like you said, we project our thoughts onto the world, and what our thoughts are our reflection. And a lot of us don't think that way, but that's why they say when it rains it pours, and when it's sunshine and rainbows, everything's going well. It's because of that mind, like the way you're looking at it. And I say to my clients, they're like, this feels really lonely. I'm like, you will go through a dip, right? Because you're and it's not like a dip in like it's not like a negative dip, but you're trying to create space for the person you are to be. And I believe you have to make space to see her or him. And so the journey has been long and at times challenging, but I say this with a lot of my friends, like, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, if I had to choose between where I was, which was kind of like level, like my emotions weren't too high or weren't too low, I was just kind of coasting. If I had to choose between that and being able to truly experience all the feelings and all the beauty and all the pain and all the joy that life has to offer, I will choose this thing every time, because we're not here to not feel. We're not here to not grow. We're not here not to do those things. It's just that in order to get to that space where you can accept it and embrace it, you do have to delayer, you do have to decondition, you do have to shed. And that period can feel really lonely, but I think that it's a piece of it, and it's not a piece I'm willing to let go, because this feels too good on the other side.
Oh, amazing. I think in terms of the dip that you mentioned, I was already, so just to share that my mindset, how it works, and how I do it. I'm a very visual person, so all the conversations are happening is like moving pictures in my mind. So when you were saying the dip, I was already seeing a roller coaster going down, right? So in my mind, I was like, okay, yeah, it's it is. And what I also mentioned to my clients is it's like a roller coaster. So you have to take that little dip, or it could be as long or as little as you would like it to be. So being on a roller coaster, you are looking forward to those dips so that you can go back up, right? And that's what you need to do with this journey of this, right? So you need to look forward to those dips, because once you had that dip, now the only way is up, and you're gonna get that goal achieved that you are on, or the excitement that you're gonna get from going up. And the screams that people do on roller coaster when they're going down, it's also another excitement of, right, okay, are we going down now? It's because we're going to go up after, right? So they're already excited about that. Whether that's the screams of, I don't know, fear because they're going down so fast. But again, those are the emotions, a lot different emotions going on that roller coaster. And that's what we go through, right, when we are having those dips. And I always go by saying you need to appreciate those dips, because that's what makes you appreciate the next level that's coming to you, that high that you're going to get. That the only way is up after that anyway, because you can't go anywhere else once you have that dip. So once you start climbing that ladder back up, or you're making your way back up from that dip, it's all going to be more appreciative, because now you will see the value of it. So if this was just handed to you on a platter in front of you, right, here we go, you got it, it won't be appreciated. It won't have that same value as you would now value it, as going back. And yes, as you were mentioning, you now value it so much that you will choose it again and again, even though you've experienced those dips. You're like, yep, I'll have those dips, right? Because I know what the value of is at the end. So in regards to your journey, how important was your mindset behind it, and what was the core value that drive you for it?
So my mindset during it, mindset was, I won't say it was everything, but it was a huge piece of it, because I think that, a lot of us, there's a lot of unconscious work that has to get done. But in order to get to be unconscious, you have to do the conscious work, understanding like what you're thinking, what's happening, all of that rewiring. None of it can take place unless you are truly present with the thoughts that you have. And so mindset was extremely important, because as you mentioned with those dips, like the goal now, I think for both you and I, is just to move through them faster. They don't ever go away. The idea is see them, recognize them, for what they are, which isn't negative or positive, it is, and then go down them and then come back up on the other side a lot quicker. And so it took me, for the record, it took a long time for me to be able to say that to you in a way that is where I mean it and I know it. And so for me, the mindset component of it, it was huge, because once I got this under wraps, I was then able to get my body to go along with it. Because a lot of times, when we say the mantras, when we do the affirmations, when we read the books, when we do all the things, it's like we can do it, and then we go to take a step forward, and it's like, yeah. And a lot of that is because we have these unconscious bias and or unconscious thoughts which manifest in the body. And so when I was able to understand that, I was able then to release whatever thoughts needed to then come conscious to move forward. And when I say that, it's like, oh my God, this seems like such a heady process. It's really not. It's like getting effing quiet, right? Like just sitting down for a bit, recognizing you had a jolt, and getting quiet, or doing breath work, or moving your body, or whatever it would look like. And so the journey forward mindset has been truly, it's something I wish more people would focus on, because in this world we're so focused on action. Action is clarity. Action is the most important. You just got to take action. And there is some of that, but a lot of the people that I work with, and myself included, we take action and we get stuck. And if we don't understand that we get stuck because there's something in here that's blocking us, it's really hard for us to continue the journey. And so every single time I get stuck, I'm like, what are you thinking? Like, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? What do you need to release? And that continues to allow me to move forward. Because if I keep pushing forward and it's the wrong thing, I'm only going to get more wrong things and wrong feelings that are going, because we don't always know what's going on in here. But I only remember that being the part of the question. I know there was a second question. I forgot what it was. So hopefully this was okay.
No. That was actually brilliant as well. I mean, I believe the second part was the core value that is driving the behavior with that particular mindset that you just mentioned.
Oh, great! I feel like I answered it. Okay, perfect. So
exactly.
I did it.
Yeah. So it was all there, and it's brilliantly what you just shared in terms of and the journey of going through. So being present here in the now, of acknowledging it. A lot of people that I'm sure you come across as well, where I come across 100%, is they driven by the future, which is there, it exists, because you are trying to build it, you are heading towards it, right? I always use the example of the Olympians, right? So all Olympians have one goal, is to represent their country and get that gold medal, right? So all Olympians that turn up to that field, that's what their goal is. But not everybody gets it, right? Some end up getting silver, some end up getting bronze, some end up getting nothing, right? What does that mean? Does that mean that that somebody had a lesser of the goal than the others? No, it didn't. It just means the others who actually achieved it, they were more present at that moment, and they were looking at their goal and achieving it, and following it from their heart, in terms of maybe they did more practice, right? They spend more hours and hours of extra nights, whereas somebody else did just what was required and still wanted to achieve that gold medal, right? So that's the difference between the people who succeed in what they want to achieve, is what they recognize themselves at. What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses, in terms of, okay, yeah, and I need to recognize this, as you were saying, if you don't know what's happening, and you get stuck in that loop, and then that loop is going to spiral into something else, and so forth, and then before you know it, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing now, right? You're not moving forward, you're stuck, right? And that's what happened. So those Olympians who, let's say, didn't get any medals or got bronze or a silver, got stuck in that loop when they saw something not working out for them, right? When they saw there was a little mishap, let's say if they were a runner or a swimmer, they saw a little mishap, and then they started to not focus on how to improve it. Instead, start looking at, oh, I'm going to lose now, and guess what happened? They did lose, right? And that's my take onto it. What do you think?
So there's that. And I also think the other important thing is that maybe they had to learn a different lesson. Like, a lot of what the goals we set for ourselves are ego based, right? So they're not necessarily like our calling or our purpose here on in this planet, right? And we can't know it until we're in it, and we can't know it until we're looking back. And so some of it is we've lost focus. Some of it is we're not working the system the way that we need to, and we weren't as present. But I think the other part of it that's important to know is that sometimes it wasn't for you. Like, sometimes what you want is what your ego wanted versus what you were here to fulfill. And so when you lose or you fail or you get disappointed, it's because we're trying to divert you, we being the universe, right? Trying to divert you into your right path. And I think that that's the thing that a lot of people forget, is that the things that happen to you, and I know this is really hard, it's hard for me too, but to understand that a lot of the things that are happening to you are for your greatest good. And so even though you name them as good or bad, really it's taking you closer to where you're supposed to go, or it's trying to teach you the lesson that you really refuse to learn. And this is the way that it'll wake you up. I mean, I was reading something like maybe last week that was saying, when your wings get clipped, pay attention, because I believe that we live in a friendly universe. I don't think that the world is against us. And so when that does happen, it's a moment to reflect, to say, was that really for me? And if it wasn't, then own it, like cry, do the things, feel bad, all the the stuff that happens, and then pick yourself back up and start to go the direction that you're being led to.
That's amazing, actually, and then and I resonate with that 100%, because with myself, I mean, a lot of people that I meet and I know personally as well, in terms of, they look at me and they see, oh, I don't know how you do it, Zishan. You're why are you always so calm? And even my family members, they're like, why is this person always so calm? It's so calm that it scares them, right? So it could, everything will be like falling down around me, but I would be calm. And what I'm doing is I'm actually taking notice, as you said, right? So if my wings are being clipped at that moment, I am taking notice of, okay, what's happening around me, right? And what do I need to do with this situation now? Okay, so do I need to take a couple of steps back to take 3 steps forward? I'll do that. I'm willing to do this. And that's what's happening in my mind, right? And obviously my mind always plays movies and everything is pictures. So I'm already like creating a sequel of something, right? To come up with a solution. So I'm 90% solution focused, and the rest 10% is my gut feeling, right? So solution is there, and then do I resonate with this solution? Shall I go for it? And yes, that 10%, the gut is there, and it works for me 100%. So a lot of time, and that's came about very naturally from a very young age, because
Mm.
a lot of stuff happened to me. But then something I suppose I did as a defense mechanism that I recently find out after speaking to a few other coaches along those lines, and they said, yeah, it's a defense mechanism that you built when you were younger without knowing, and you became this person that you are. You know, that nothing that now phases you, and you straight away go into a mode of looking at solution. Okay, I'm in this situation. What do I need to do? Because I've been through quite a lot when I was younger. In my teen years, there was a time when I was suicidal because nothing was working my way. So, but here I am. But you know, in that way, I always focus on solutions. So, like in my house, if something is not working out, so if my partner is going, "Why is this happening to me?" Da, 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 right? They're already looking at the negative end of the stick, and I'm like, well, okay, we know this has happened. We can't do anything about this now. It's happened, right? What we need to see is, okay, what is this trying to tell us now, and what is the solution for it, and are we able to create something that can overcome it? If we can't do anything to overcome it, just accept it. It's happened. You know, it's done, right? We cannot change it. And I agree that universe is our best friend. Is always pushing us into the direction that we are now ready to take. Now it's our decision, and I'm a big believer of that. That is our decision that we take that changes what we want to have tomorrow, 5 years, you know, 10 years, and so forth. So I come from a corporate world, and in corporate world, they'll ask you every time, so where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 2 years? It's like, it's too far to look at, but obviously, yeah, okay, but I have a projection that should happen. Whether that happens or not, who knows, right? But you projected it, you know, you're gonna go that way. But it's firm believer of taking those decisions that you need to take now. Do not think about, oh yeah, I've got time, I will do that later. That window that decision was supposed to be taken will be gone. It won't be the same. Even if you try to take that decision after 2 days, 3 days, a week later, for something that came in your way now, and you say, okay, yeah, give me some time, I'll come back. But that is not going to be the same as if it comes back, right? It's different. And that's why I try to emphasize on my clients at the time. So pay attention to what's happening around you, and take note of, if you need to make note of something to write down. If you need to, you know, I don't write things down anymore, because I used to be a writer, but because of thanks to this technology, I just record everything. I record myself talking onto it, and then I can watch it back. So I'm all about ease and flow. The better it can be, the better it can be. So yeah, instead of writing, I'm just like, yeah, speak it, and I can watch it back, right? And I can see my emotions, how I was when I was speaking it, right? Was I happy? Was I sad? Or when I was neutral, what was my emotions on that time? And that will also tell me to then pay attention to those things. Do you think I touched upon that correctly, or what are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that that's so true. I mean, I love what you said about the choice component of it, right? It is a choice. And no, the only person judging you about making that choice or not truly is you. Like, I believe like what you said is that ideas hop, like Elizabeth Gilbert talks about this, like in her book Big Magic. Ideas hop from person to person, and it's up to you to take that idea. And that all being said, I do believe things that are for you won't pass you, but the timeline of it looks different when you don't act at the time you're being called to act. And that's why it's a choice. It doesn't mean like you have to do, like, and that's the thing, the things that we're saying right now, you might not be ready to go down the dip. You might not be ready to do the mindset work. You might not be ready to heed the call. And that's okay. That's your choice. That's the free will that we have as human beings. But know that the timeline then looks different. Like, I think about, like, when I was 24, 25, I had a really wild opportunity. And I remember being too scared to take it. And quite frankly, it took me another like 5 to 6 years before I had the opportunity again. And that's okay. But it was in that moment, I didn't take it. And it wasn't like it appeared, to your point, like the next 3 days. It was gone for the time being, and it can come back around, but it really did look a lot different. And so I think I think you passed the test. And I think that really the piece that I want to highlight that I think was so brilliantly put by you is we get to decide, like we get to make the choice. And that's really all you can do. Because once you make the choice, things will come for you. But if you decide against it, they won't, because like you said, like the universe conspires in your favor because it's friendly. But if you keep rejecting it and pushing it away, which I've done many times, I'm like, I don't want it, I don't want it. When I really did want it, I didn't get it because I wouldn't own, or I didn't make the choice that like, nope, I want it, come hell or high water, whatever happens, I want it. Right. So yeah, I think that there's just so much truth to what you said.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'd love to like expand a little bit because I love driving, and then this analogy just came into my mind because you know, when we are going from A to B location, let's say, right, there's various routes to take, right? But there is always one route which everybody takes, which is like would be the standard route to go from that A to B. But then there are others who might feel shorter, but because you're continuously driving. But the regular A to B route, like the main highway or main road, is usually congested, traffic and everything else, right? So if you stay onto it, you, let's say, get to your destination in 30 minutes, for example, right? In 30 minutes, you're at your destination. But if you take route B, it might take you now 45 minutes, but it's no traffic and nothing. So you're going into that. And the other one might take you shorter, but it has lots of speed bumps onto it, right? So you are, you know, stopping, starting, you're slowing down and everything. So a lot of people, again, then they decide, okay, oh, I don't want to be in that traffic. I'll rather go onto that speed bumps, right? And or take that other route, which will take me an extra 15 minutes and just do that. It's all fine. Again, it's a case of taking that decision and owning it. Right? For myself, you know, I'm usually the person who will say, okay, if I know this traffic is there, but I know the traffic is just there, but I will still get there in 30 minutes. I'll take that route because I don't really care about the traffic. I'm going to enjoy, if there is scenic route, I'll enjoy the scenery. If there's nothing, I'll enjoy my music whilst that's happening, right? So I will do something to get along that path that I am on that journey. A lot of people, even though they are taking a decision, they are more worried about the journey in terms of, oh, but I want my journey to be this way. I want this journey. I want that journey. You have to allow the journey to be how it is. Once you've taken the decision of what path you want to go on, and then allow that journey to show how it should be on that journey, right? So this is where also I find a lot of people are challenged in terms of, okay, oh, I've taken the journey, but I'm not seeing this. I'm not seeing that. Well, which journey did you choose? You know, there were options. I'm sure there were options. You looked at your pros and cons, and then you decide to do what you need to do, whatever that decision is. And then you've taken it. Are you now ready? Are you owning it that this was your decision and you are on this path? And we need to now continue on it, where that dips are coming, where you have to slow down. And then you have that gap before the other dip comes along and you speed up. Or you just go on a continuous slow path where it's going to take you 45 minutes to reach the end of the destination, right? So owning that journey as well. What's your thought on that, owning the journey?
Oh, I'm with you. I think that you said something that I thought was really important is like, we're like, okay, this is the journey I want and this is what it's going to look like. Here's the thing, you get on that highway and that main road and there can be more traffic than you expected it. There can be less traffic than what expected it. I think where people get really hung up, and me too, for the record, is we want things to look a certain way because certainty feels really good in our body. Like it feels really safe to us. But like our journey, if we know what we're going after, if like we really have that vision and we're truly committed to it, and you made that choice, and then you know go whatever path down you go, yeah, like know too that like it's still not guaranteed because you have to be present, right, to all the opportunities that come your way. You've chosen the path you want to, you know, fast, slow, or bumpy, whichever one. And from there, then you just have to let the things that unfold. I think that that's where so many of us get in our own way. It's like, no, but it looked like this for her, and it looked like this for him, and that was his story, and I want to do my story. And it's like, uh, I hear you. Like, you should be able to get onto like I-95 at, entrance 12 and get off at, exit 26, but that's not what it's always going to look like, even though that's the path you've chosen. And I think that's just an important thing for people to understand, is that your path will be unique to you. And as long as you're willing to see what's put in your way as a gift, because that obstacle or that speed bump is maybe turning you right instead of going left, I think you can enjoy that ride. You can turn on the music, you can enjoy the ride, whatever it looks like. But we get so stuck on what it should look like instead of what it does look like. And I think that that's what gets in our way, because we want to plan and we want to make sure. But if you're an entrepreneur, or you started your own business or whatever it is, listen, good luck. Like, you're trying to create something that has never been done before. Even if you are a coach, even if you are a product, like, it's never been done your way before. So you're going to know the path you're to take, but you can't ever nail down that journey. Just like even on Google or Waze or whatever, accidents happen randomly. Like, they're out of your control, and your job is just to get on path and keep moving forward.
So that's wonderfully put. Actually, that's amazing. Yeah, exactly. Accidents happen, even though let's say a Google Map is telling you, or Waze is telling you, you will be there in XYZ time. It's all clean and everything. Straightforward road, but you don't know who's gonna have that little accident, or a tree just falls onto a road and the whole road's blocked, right? And you're like, yeah, okay, now what do I do? And there's there's lots of traffic behind you, so you can't even make a U-turn because it's one way. So there's those things, and a lot of times I was going to use the example of where I live. There is traffic, but it's traffic that I don't notice anymore. So when people are visiting me from out of town, they're like, yeah. And when they enter into my town, right? So and they go, wow, so much traffic to just get in to the town, because now you just come off the highway, now you're joining us. And they're like, and I'm like, really? I don't really notice any of, it's the usual, takes you 20 minutes to get in. And then 20 minutes for that person sometimes is like, whoa, 20 minutes is long to be on the road. I'm like, well, the part where I live, it takes you 1 hour to get from A to B anyway. So, if it's taking longer than an hour, then I worry about it. If it's anything within 1 hour, nobody cares here, So if you're coming from a place where you just hop on a car and you're there in 5 minutes, and now you're here where it's taking you 20 minutes to just enter a town, then yeah. So because your mindset was like, okay, this is how I do things, and this is how it happens. And now you've now moved, you're trying to move into a new territory where you're becoming an entrepreneur, for example, and you're creating things, as you mentioned, you're creating a system which will work for you, right? And that speed and what it is will determine how you are, right? So the speed limit would be like, okay, how fast you can go, how fast you can do this. You can do this 100 miles an hour, but if that thing is not ready for you to be done that 100 miles per hour, and there's bumpy road, there's road, tree on that road and everything, which you haven't seen yet, things which are out of your control, you're not going to get that 100 miles per hour. And that's what I come across, and my clients who are in the business 6 months in, and they're like, well, why am I not seeing results? It's 6 months in now. I should be seeing something, right? And I'm like, well, what was the mindset that you should have achieved this in 6 months, right? What did you put in to have 6 months? What did you get out of the things that you put in, right? What was the goal to see, right? As every business in the corporate world does, is they have aim for the whole year, and they set upon that journey for the whole year. But then they are assessing their goals every month, every quarter, every half year. So they're never letting go of that goal that is end goal, right? But they are assessing every time that they get a chance to assess it, and see what they've come across. If they come across the bumps and they come across a tree, and then if they had to pivot themselves to do something else, or completely change that goal, which 2020 did for everybody, right? Completely changed everybody's perspective of things that they're supposed to be done. And if that's the case, were you ready for that, right? And a lot of people, when they get onto this entrepreneurial journey, they don't give themselves enough time, but they will give them enough time to. Well, I mean, nothing against jobs. That job stands for just over broke in my eyes anyway, and that's where you stay. I've never seen a successful person in a job, right? You are successful in that job and role that you had, but you're not successful in my eyes anyway. In values that you don't have time freedom, and that's what's important to me, is the time of doing what you want to do, when you want to do what you want to do, and who you want to do it with. You don't have that freedom. You have to ask permission. Oh, can I get time off in so and so times? Oh, you need to book in 1 month in advance. You need to plan this, you need to do this. Whereas if you have the time freedom of yourself, you can then decide, tomorrow I don't want to work, tomorrow I'll just sit because it's a nice day, right? Are you able to do that? You're not able to do that. So that's why you're just over broke, because you need to keep making that so that you're not broke, right? And that's what the decisions are coming in handy in terms of being an entrepreneur. You need to then decide how that journey looks like for you, how long that journey is going to be, and give it that time to improve and come into fruition. People stay in jobs for 40 years, but don't give entrepreneurship 1 or 2 years to show what can be achieved from it. And this is a big point that I touch upon as well. So in regards to your, obviously you are on your entrepreneur's journey as well. How has that been for you? If you're okay to share that.
Sure. So, I spent the first 10 years in the private and public sector. And like, when it comes to jobs, I will say, I think that there are people who really do great there. Like, most of my clients are corporate, like work in corporate. And I do think that it's like, the one thing I just want to add to that is I do think it's still a mindset, right? Like, I believe, from what I've seen, you can get freedom with a job. But it takes, and I think this is in entrepreneurship, and I think this is in corporate as well, is you have to decide who you are and who you're going to be. Because what they do in corporate very well is they try to put you in a box. They're like, this is who you are, and this is who you can only be. And it's like, no, like, if you want to make the money, if you want to have the freedom while working at a corporate job, you've got to decide who you need to be and who you need to, and how you need to show up to get that freedom. And I think it's the exact same in entrepreneurship. But you make such a good point. We give like 1 year, we give 6 months. And we're like, I suck. This is awful. And it's like, that was nothing. You spent 10 years doing something that wasn't calling to you, and you gave it 6 whole freaking months. And I say that knowing I was there too, where I was like, oh my God, like, it doesn't feel like it's working. But I will tell you, in my journey, when I officially went out on my own, what I did, which I think is now very interesting, is I got to a place where I was about to have my first 5-figure month, and I self-sabotaged, like, because I didn't have a strong enough mindset. So I like went and started to do all these different things. And I do think that that's part of the journey, like, unfortunately, right? Unfortunately, but it's been up and down. I mean, I was a holistic health coach for the first 3 years. I felt pulled to do the holistic life and mindset coaching that I'm doing now since last July. And I didn't start doing it till this March because I was scared, and I knew what worked. Like, I knew how to make money doing the thing that I was doing. But what's so interesting is that, like, my well dried up when I didn't follow what was really true. And so the journey for me, I won't say it's like up and down, but it has been such a lesson, because you break 6 figures and you think, I'm gonna have it all together, and you don't, because like, for me, I realized that the lifestyle I had to get that money wasn't aligned with who I wanted to be. And so thanks to 2020, I had to redo and revamp and rethink everything that I wanted to be, who I wanted to be, how I wanted to act, what needed to show up. And it was, I mean, obviously COVID is terrible, all those things. But for me, that time and space was a gift, because it made me realize, who do I want to serve? What am I not really listening to, and what am I creating now? And so the journey hasn't been smooth. It hasn't been like this. It's been boop, boop, boop. It's like twisty turvy. But, the thing about entrepreneurship, and I don't know if this is how you feel, but it's the fastest way to self growth. So, like, you learn basically everything about yourself in there. And that is not a straight linear journey. It's supposed to be windy. It's supposed to be those things. And so, it's been a ride, but I'm on, I think this is my fourth year in it. And it's so much more familiar. It feels so much more safe. I know what I'm capable of and not capable of. And I'm learning to where to delegate and what to do, because I think we start out as solopreneurs and we want to do everything, and we want to hold all the stuff, and we want to do all these things. And I spent a lot of money on personal development from people who I didn't resonate with, because I thought, oh, I've got to look this way and that way. And I would say the last year and a half, I really started to find out who I was in this. And it has been such a wonderful journey. But it really took those 2.5 years of just like, pushing through and understanding to actually say that the journey was worth it and enjoyable. So the whole idea of 6 months, not kid, like you got to give it some time if this is really what you want.
No, I agree with you, and thanks for sharing that journey as well, because it just reminded me of my journey. So I've been doing coaching of business and mindset whilst I was in my corporate London job already, but what it was that I wasn't paying attention to it as a lot, because that was my calling, and that's what I felt. Exactly what you said. I've got put in a box. You have to come in, do this task and everything else. But I was like, I'm more than that. I'm enjoying being in that box. It's great. It's a very fancy box. I'll enjoy that. But when in my time, which was given to me, I would be doing my coaching, and I was coaching young entrepreneurs from the age of 11 to 17 to get into the business and launch their things. So, but I never was able to pay attention to it a lot more than the time off that I was getting, like the weekends, for example. So I will plug in on a Friday, because I would do a half days at work on Friday. So I've decided to take some time off away on Friday so I can pay my time here and do this. So I was stealing my time, pockets of time that I was allowed outside the box, so to say, right? And that was because I knew, as you put it, I knew what I wanted to be, being true to myself. Now, this word being authentic self gets thrown out everywhere now, left, right, and center. So I try to use it as less as possible, because, has it's a big meaning behind it, right? So being your authentic self, what that is. So how I see it is, what's your true calling, what you truly want to do, is that's what is authentic to you. For me, even though I was in that box, enjoying that box life, but I was like, no, there's more to that box, and I have access to it outside. So I can be in that box for 5 days. Then the other 2 days, I'm outside the box. Yay, enjoy the life outside, and then come back into the box, right? But 2020, yes, we know, as you mentioned as well. So pandemic and everything, not great, but it was a blessing in disguise for myself. How? Because I was not traveling anymore to work. A lot of my meeting times were given back to me, because I didn't have to wait around, right? Because all turned into Zoom calls. So Zoom calls, everybody was already on their own time, and then we were off time. We were not traveling to meetings for wherever they were up and down the countries anymore. And a lot of time was given to me. Literally, I had half a day given back to me for what I did, right? So that included travel time to back and forth to the office. And a lot of that time, I then moved into self-development, self-learning. A lot of those things, I started finding myself, things that I really actually enjoyed. And I wasn't doing more of it because I was in that box. And once I did that, in 2020, everything kind of upscaled and took a different life of its own, to the point that by July 2020, I went to my boss and I said, right, I resigned. I'm leaving. And then everybody was in shock. Everybody around me, and thinking, there are people getting fired left, right, and center, and you're secure. Your department is not closing and all that stuff. Why are you doing this? I'm like, well, no, I found that actually, if I'm on a crossroad where if I now pay attention to carry on doing what I'm doing, I will lose what I actually love to do. If I now pay attention to what I love to do, I can go somewhere and I can excel into it. I can now see the value of it, because before being trapped in that box, I wasn't able to give the 100% attention I was doing, apart from those 2-3 days that I was getting. But now I was able to give more, and I then realized, and I catapulted the journey more faster. And this is something I had promised myself already in 2019 as I won't say a New Year's resolution, but something we do in our household is New Year goals. And we track those goals, right? So it's not a resolution that you just say it and let's see if it will happen. It's a goal that you aim for, and you will do everything that you can to achieve it. And it's a whole year's goal. So you see, or if you don't achieve it, you're going to be somewhere further up in the line where you're far away from where you were before anyway. So you'll go along the journey. So that was already written for myself, and that I will not go back to work in 2022. 2022, 1st of January, I won't wake up to go back to my corporate world. That was written already down for me. I had written it down. But 2020 kind of, sped that up. And I was like, okay, the decision is now. I do it now, or I don't do it anymore. And that's how I looked at it. And I decided, okay, let's do it. And yeah, it's not a linear journey still. I still, was going to spirals to the point I was like, what, did I make the right decision? Self-doubt and to share the sabotage that you mentioned as well. I had my very first client who was paying me 6-figure, right? But I did not take it. You know why? Because I was not able to close that. I stopped myself. And then I took a journey, another one, to acknowledge why that happened, because I'm able to take any clients who are, within certain factors. And as soon as somebody's really is signing up to my masterclass things, I kind of block myself. And what I found with the deep research I did on myself with one of the healers, and it's a close friend of mine, we found out it's just because we have not actually come across that value or that money in life. You've not seen it. You've not seen it yourself, right? You've never earned it. So you do not know it. And that's why your mind or your body is like, just looking at this, is this real? No, I don't want it, right? Is that kind of feeling, right? It's I put it, because I'm visual, I put it across, right, with the cars, right? So even though I want a Ferrari or an Aston Martin and everything, but I would never go and get it, right? Why? Because I've never experienced it, right? So it's a case of, if I had driven it, or I sat into that car once in a while, then I'd be like, oh, I do really want it because I've experienced it now, I'll pay for it. And that's what it is. So because I hadn't experienced that sort of income in one time, or even though you are earning good in your corporate world, I had not seen that value, right? I do get that money, but it's spread out throughout the year. And that was the healing process I had to go through to say, no, it's okay to accept that, because that is what the person is actually valuing me, that I am able to deliver, what I'm delivering, and they're agreeing on that value. They say, yes, it's worth it. And that is what I am delivering, and I should take it. And when I went through that journey, I was able to then sign up a couple of people onto that value. And once I had that, everything is now falling into pieces. Now I don't have to think about it twice. Oh, is this right? Should I now charge this? Should I now take this? Is that healing process we have to go through within ourselves. Subconsciously, we are the biggest blockers of ourselves in any decision we want to take. Our body stops you, and the mind will stop you as well. It's designed to protect you from that hunter-gatherer times anyway, because you'll go out hunting, gathering in that time, and you're like, oh, the bush moved. Maybe there's a tiger in there. I'm not going to go forward, and I'm going to change my direction, right? And we don't need those kind of mindset anymore, because everything is well developed. You are protected to a certain degree. You just need to do your due diligence, and you know what's happening. A lot of information is out there, right? So that mindset, you just need to consciously and then subconsciously tame it in some sense, so it understands, okay, you are doing this and you know it. Was this something similar for you, or how was it for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think self-sabotage is a real thing that we all go through. And I think you laid it out nicely. When we don't know something or it's not familiar, our body will always block us. I mean, there's opportunities, there are conversations, there's meetings, there's all these things that I really wanted. And when they're presented, I couldn't say yes, or something came in the way. And it's I just wish more people would talk about it because it's so normal for this to happen. And really, when you self sabotage or things, whatever you want to call it, I feel like it's just a cue for you to go inward because you're right. Like your body, your mind, it's just trying to protect you. And what that means is safe equals familiar, right? So safe equals familiar in our bodies and brains. And so when something's unfamiliar or unknown, it really does do something to our nervous system. This is like, you're not crazy. Like it really does do something to you. And so that's where the work often is. And like, I love that you said, like, worked with a healer and these different things. It's like, there's so many ways that you have to release this. It's not all talk therapy. It's not all talk coaching. Like it is in our body. It is. And like, I'm my mom's from the Philippines, right? For people of color, like, or immigrants, like, we carry their trauma. Like we don't like it's not ours. And so I think that that's why too these conversations of really getting in there are so important, because sometimes when we sabotage, it's not that it's what you want, it's what, like, as humans we do, but also if you have a past like yours or mine, or different histories and different ethnicity, like you're carrying everyone else's shit too, unless they broke it, like unless they broke that chain. And so yeah, man, like everything you're saying I can completely relate to. And I know that, like, I had a conversation recently with a friend and I was like, I want to charge this, and she was like, hell no, double it. Like absolutely double it. But it this number felt safe, and it was like, no, but this is what it's going to cost you. This is what it should be. This is what it could look like. This is, all like, but I needed help with it because we all have blind spots. We all have blind spots. So we've got to work with other people, and then acknowledge the spots when they come up, and acknowledge when there are ours, acknowledge when there are others, and then do the work to release them, whatever that looks like.
No, 100% agree in what you just said in terms of blind spot. There are blind spots there, and there are others who are there to help us. You just need to accept. It is, even you're becoming an entrepreneur, which starts as a solopreneur journey, and you want to do everything in the beginning. Yes, you would have to do that because you want to learn everything, you want to understand, you want to build it. But our focus should be on creating a system, right? And utilizing that system that works for you, right? So people who are in jobs and everything, they are part of a system which is created by someone for somebody else, right? And when we say, that people on top, we never see them, they don't do anything, we are the one doing everything. Well, that was the system they created, right? So, and they needed people to do things for on the lower stages of whatever jobs we are doing, and that's what it is. And then they are on the top of the system because they created it. So you need to create a system which works for you, and then incorporate others into it. For me, like reaching out to that healer, and only it was because I know the person, and I was like, yeah, I'm coming through this block. What do you think? And she was like, I know this. Let's book a session, and I'll take you this journey. And I was like, right, okay. When's the second one now? After the first one, I'm like, when's the second one? Can we book another one? And then I had to take the process. And it's a case of accepting that we need help. A lot of people, when they do set upon these journeys, they think, all right, I need to do everything myself. I don't want help. I don't need this guru. I don't need this mentor. I don't need this coach. I'll just plug into the YouTube and I'll do this. Nothing wrong in looking at YouTube and everything. If YouTube was creating all these things, there'd be no problems in the world, and everybody would be happy, right? But there are. So you need that human touch. You need that one-to-one sessions. You need that talking to a person rather than just listening. So the information is so much out there that has been thrown at you, right? You need to find the frequency that you tune into. Find that frequency, because there's a lot more noise than it was in the past, right? And you're surrounded by noise a lot more. So you need to then, keep listening to the noise, but tune into what noise is relevant to you and hone into that noise with laser focus, right? And then go for it. And this is where you mentioned that was, when your body is saying no, that means that you need to just double down and do it. And I've got a good example for that from my personal life. In my teen years, I was in a heavy metal band. I've been a rock and roll life and everything. In myself, I'm a balance between introvert and extrovert myself, right? So I just go with the room what it is. But as a person myself, I'm more of a quiet person, very quiet in the corner, do not disturb anybody. But if there is a loud room, I'm the loudest person there. I will be the loudest person in that room because I talk very loud, right? So if I'm in a party, people will hear me what I'm saying because I'm just loud. And that came from being in the bands, right? Obviously, yeah, it's also deafened my ears. So I have to hear myself talk. But every time I used to go onto stage to play my guitar, I used to be scared shitless, right? And didn't know. And even though I've toured Japan with my brand, I've toured all around UK. We've been around. We were, let's say, semi-famous, for example, right? If you wanted to put it that way, because we supported quite a lot of bands and we toured with them. So we toured around the world. But every time I'll be backstage, coming onto a stage, I'll be shitless now, right? And you would think that if I've been doing this for 5-6 years, it should be just natural, like let's just go in and do it. But no, but it was just that thing. It was something just there, always scared. I think, and that thing was that I didn't want to mess up for the rest of the guys. That was the thing there. But I used that fear to double down on myself and excel at the stage. Because when I was there, everybody would be like, is that the same guy who was sitting at the back quietly with his guitar to go onto the stage? Because you will see me hopping across there, then you're running crazy everywhere. And that's what I was doing. So suddenly I was a different person. And once you come off stage and I'm sitting in the corner of the bar, just having my drink, it was like, is this the same guy now, just sitting quietly and not talking to anybody, right? And that is also, I wanted to just add there, that you have to recognize it and fuel it, right? Even though your mind is saying, if that goes wrong, this happens. None of that will happen. It's just in your mind. Yeah. And the only thing will happen is what you decide to do at that moment and go forward with it, right? We never think twice when we get in the car what will happen once we are setting upon our journey, right? But things happen when we are driving, but we never think of that, right? And we act upon it. We take decisions. If we want to reroute ourselves, we do that. Or we want to head back, we head back, right? We do all those things. And that comes to our life as well. A lot of people don't do these things when it comes to their own mindset and their journey. What are your thoughts on that?
And so many, but on that last piece, I think I love what you said is when we get into a car, because it's so familiar, we just expect it to take us to where we want to go. And if we have to detour, if we have to go left instead of right, if we have to get off on this exit to get on the side street because there's traffic, we're fine. Like, we might be like a little irritated about it, but we're not really that irritated. We're like, oh, okay, this happens. But, I think it becomes so unique when it's us, like when it's our stuff, when it's like, and really when we think other people are watching. But I like to remind people, no one actually cares that much about you. Like we do, but we don't. And like I have newer clients who have, like 80 followers or 100 followers. And I'm like, that's great. You get to screw up only in front of 80 people. How wonderful. What a gift. Like, or you get to practice is actually, like in front of these 80 to 100 people. And it's just this idea of being more present and like rolling with the punches. And listen, I say this knowing that I didn't want to do that for a very long time. Like, I wanted things this way and I would get so angry when they wouldn't. But the more and more I go down this journey, the more and more I realize that like you can let the universe, God, spirit, whatever you want to call it, like you can let that come through you instead of you trying to force what it will look like. And it's so much easier the other way because doors open that don't make sense. Like, I think we see so many people who are successful and we're like, I want to take his exact path or her exact path. but 9 times out of 10, you can't, because they were letting the world move through them. They were listening to their unique calls. They were listening to the messages that were coming to them and their own innate wisdom. And I wish we would just normalize that, because it's the same, and it's the same analogy that we've been using about driving. Like, when you get on that road, you are going to hear where you need, like, you're going to have a GPS that says go right or go left. And if you don't do it, you're going to get rerouted. Like, you can either choose to reroute or you will get rerouted. And I feel like I'm at a point where I want to choose to reroute. I don't want, the analogy I give for that is like, it's the feather of the Mack truck. You can get that little whisper that says, Erica, go right. Erica, talk to that person. Erica, send that email. Or you can get a Mack truck that hits you that's like, girl, you went down the wrong path and you need to lay down and sit here until your body recovers. And but we all wait for that freaking Mack truck. And it's like, I've been around this stuff enough to know that people's intuition is so much stronger than they give it credit for. But we have made it seem so weird to like follow your gut decision when it's you. It's normal when it's like a business, like in a corporate, or like I have this hunch about them. But when like we have to listen to our own gut, we get so weird about it. Like, we don't trust it. But I mean, that for me was like one of the big things I hope people took away from what you were saying is, we get in this car, you can reroute. But if you don't reroute when given the instructions to do so, you'll get stopped by that tree. There'll be a coyote in the middle of the road. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be an accident. And so I just, for people who are starting out and people in business in general, it's like, how do you embrace this principle? Because I believe the purpose of life is to enjoy it. And I think, but what I think about enjoyment is that it looks different than what we think it looks like Netflix, like binging Netflix and like sleeping in, but it's not, right? It's about how do we move through this world with joy and love in our heart as often as possible. And when we start to look at it that way, I think it helps, us move down our path in the right way for us.
Yeah, agree 100%. And I love the way you've put that as well. Is reroute yourself before that mad truck happens, right? So and a lot of people wait for that mad truck to come around and knock them off to that go back. And when that happens, that just means that it's already too late. Now, if you're now going through that, right? So you have to do a lot more than what you had to do previously, right? And I'll always put pressure to everybody, like, okay, don't not wait for that, right? If you have a feeling which is telling you that, acknowledge the feeling and notice the pros and cons, or things that should be dealt with, right? What can I now do now straight away, and take that decision, right? And you're right, yeah. In the corporate world or anywhere, they will, oh yeah, my hunch says this. I'm gonna, let's not do this. This is what I think. When it comes to yourself and your own journey, people are like, oh, I'm not too sure about this now. Oh, and you're not making it, even though it's like staring at your face, right? You need to take that turn, but no, I'm not gonna take that turn. You sure? Can I ask, can I phone a friend? It's like, well, no, what would your friend know? Your friend's not on the same journey as you. He's like, a lot of time I come across people who speak to their, another person who is not on a similar journey, right? So, and then you say, oh, this is what's happened. What do you think that person, it's like asking a mechanic, what's wrong with your kitchen sink? And you'd be like, well, I'm a car mechanic. I don't know. Check with the plumber, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's why sometimes that crossroads are, and because they're doing all that, and they miss that turning, and then the mad truck comes along and say, well, here we go. The plumber is like, you need to fix the sink. Your house is flooded, right? Yeah. And that journey is just off track. In terms of, people, when they become entrepreneurs, also they are also still stuck with their employee mindset, and this is where they are challenged a lot, right? Because they still think a lot of things should just happen, and we should just get things should just fall and be there, and this is what it is. And where you just mentioned, when they look at these successful journeys of others, and they just see the success, and they only see the very little of the hardship which was behind it. Only what you've been shown, that's what you see, right? I use Elon Musk and Richard Branson, two of my favorite entrepreneurs that I follow quite often. Richard Branson I've been following for way longer than Elon Musk, but both on a similar part of journey. You know, regular people went through uni, college, and everything, but they all wanted to make a difference in the world, right? They wanted to be entrepreneurs, but for a reason. And we do not see a lot of their journeys apart from what they've shared, but you know that they had a lot more unshareable things that they're not sharing. They're only sharing the part which is glamorous, right? So there are parts where they were sleepless nights, doubtful nights. They probably were like cursing themselves. Is this the correct journey? What do I do? I'm ruined. I'm going to go bankrupt. I'm going to happen this. A lot of those things, but solution focused, and that overnight success that everybody talks about has a million nights before attached to it, before that one overnight that happened and that you were successful. And that's what I would like to add for everybody, to know that you have to go through a million of those overnights before you get that one overnight success.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was just saying, I totally agree. Like we all think that it looks that easy, and I think that's why these conversations are so important that you're having. Is we need to hear about people rejecting a 6-figure client. We need to hear about people self-sabotaging, because otherwise people think that they're doing it wrong. And it's like, no, you're doing it right. Like, failure is part of the journey. It just is.
It is exactly. And I'm so grateful for you taking out your time to coming along as well. And I think it's been quite a long conversation already as well. But there's been lots of nuggets being shared. So thank you for everybody who's watching us live since the beginning and is here now or has tuned in. So just recently, I would say to go onto IGTV. That's where it will be. So rewind and watch there. There's lots of golden nuggets being shared. And if you find it interesting, that you've enjoyed it, I would also urge you to share it with others, because you do not know who you've woken up this morning and said, and wished if there was a better way of doing something, and they might come across something from here. So it's our duty as well. If we find it interesting, we should share it with others as our civil duty to share with others and spread the word. So thank you very much for coming on, Erica. What would be your last inspirational, motivational quote that you want to share that you live by? Putting you on the spot.
Yeah. The thing that comes up is like, do it your way. Do it your way. I think that's, as entrepreneurs in particular, we look to it's full circle from this conversation, external validation. You really do know what's best. And even if it's so weird, and even if it doesn't make sense, if you know it's your way, do it. Because Richard Branson, Elon Musk, like Sheryl Sandberg, like Ellen, Oprah, all these people that we admire, they didn't take the path that was given. They did what they felt was right, and they moved forward. So just if you have something, it feels wrong or it feels weird, but it feels right, just do it. Just do it, and I guarantee it'll work out amazingly.
Amazing. Thank you very much for that wonderful words as well. So yeah, everybody, you heard Erica here. So just do it. If you're getting that feeling of shall I, should I, or would I, just do it, and then you would know, right? If it's yes or no after, right? So just go and do it. So thank you very much, Erica, and we will see what your journey is like. So people who are watching this, follow Erica and follow the journey. It's all there. Have you got anything that is coming up, or you would like to talk about with people? They can join, or is there a program that coming up?
Sure. So my 6 weeks to Unstuck program, actually, it starts today, but we're keeping it open for registration for the next week. So if anyone is feeling like, oh my gosh, I know what to do, but I can't seem to get there, Lord knows I need help, reach out to me, DM me, 6 weeks to Unstuck. I'm so excited about the program. We're going to walk you through what your vision actually is versus what you think it is, what blocks you have to release in order to get you there. And then we're going to create actually the path forward for you. So if anyone listening wants to join, DM me and we'll get you set up and caught up in no time.
Amazing. Thank you very much. So guys, you've heard it here. And if you're still looking to it, just sign up and go for it. All right. So thank you very much, Erica. And we'll speak later. And
Sounds good.
guys, we'll see you next Tuesday with another amazing person. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.